Let's be honest about our prayer lives. For most of us, the kitchen junk drawer could accurately describe our prayer life. There's some good things in there, some bad things, but none of it is organized. My name's Dr. G, and if that describes you, stick around because in this video, I'm going to share with you a framework of 3 W's, 1, 2, 3, that will help you organize your prayer life and actually pray about the things you want to. Let's go. All right, so prayer is one of those things that all of us say, I wish I prayed better. But then there's some of us who it's like, no, I really need to pray better. And I for years was that guy, like I needed to pray better. I had this desire to pray, right? Like I see the example of the apostles in Acts 6, they said we're going to devote ourselves to the ministry of prayer and the word, right? And so I'm like, that's what I want to be. I'm a ministry leader. Or just as a Christian in general, right? 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing. But yet I found myself struggling to pray well. And week after week, as I'm ministering to others, people would say, hey, can you pray for this? And so I'd pray right there on the spot, but then actually praying for them, man, I wasn't. And I would see them and I would want to say, I'd feel compelled. I want to say, hey, I've been praying for you. But if I was honest, I wasn't. But all of that changed when I got a spiral-bound notebook, I got a journal, and I organized my prayers. And I want to share with you how to do that. So how did I do that? Here's the 3 W's. The first one is who. Okay, the first thing you need to do if you want to organize your prayer life is you need to decide who are you going to pray for. Like literally get super specific. And so here's what I mean. For me, when I first started this, okay, I was overseeing a young adult ministry. I also, which they had about, at that time, 60 to 80 young adults coming on a weekly basis. I also was overseeing an adult community group. This was on Sundays. The young adult group was on Thursdays. The community group was on Sundays. And this community group had different people, and there was about 80 to 100 adults coming to it, okay? I also oversaw an internship that had about 6 interns who would come every summer, and then about 2 who would stay as residents for a year, okay? And then also, I was a member of our church staff, okay? So for me, the first thing I had to do if I wanted to organize my prayer life was I had to identify who I wanted to pray for. And I thought, okay, I want to be praying for all the people in these areas, people in the young adult ministry. And so I wrote down every single one of their names. All the people in the adult community group, wrote down all of their names. All the interns, wrote down all their names. And I want to pray for all my staff members and my head pastor. I want to pray for them, so I wrote down all their names, okay? And that's what you need to do too. If you want to be structured with your prayers, you need to find out who you want to pray for, and I mean specific to the point where you know their names. That's the first W. All right, before we get to the second W, I just want to say I'm a pastor who for years didn't know what to do. But after lots of trial and error, education and mentorship, I think we're halfway there. And I want to help you get halfway there a lot quicker than I did. So in all these videos, I promise I'm going to share all the lessons I've learned with you that's going to be practical and you can apply immediately into your ministry. So make sure you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, share it with others. And also, if I can add any other value to you, if I can be help to you, my number's in the description. Text me and I'll see what I can do. Let's get to the second W. All right, the second W is you need to decide when. When are you going to pray for those people from those categories, okay? So literally, you've got the list of people. Now just pick which day you're going to pray for them. So for me, I literally have, just so you know, when I first did this, I still have the schedule I made for myself, which there's a bunch of other things written on here. But let me just read to you. I literally, because I was trying to make a schedule for all things in my life, but then specifically my prayer life, and I wrote down the following. On Mondays, I was going to pray for my transformation leaders. So again, I said, who do I want to pray for? I broke it down, not just people in those different areas, but even the volunteers versus the members. So I said, Mondays, I'm going to pray for the adult community group, the leaders in that room, okay? On Tuesdays, I was going to pray for the young adult volunteer leaders, okay? On Wednesdays, I was going to pray for the adult community group, the members of that group. And on Thursdays, I was going to pray for the members of the young adult group. And then on Fridays, I was going to pray for my other staff members as well as the interns, okay? Now, to be clear, I wasn't praying for every single person each time. What I did was I said, okay, I'm going to pray for 10 people from these lists each day, okay? Now, the staff members was a much smaller list, so I think I probably did less on those. But because the adult community group was so big, I would do 10 members each time I got to them. Or because the young adult group was so big, I would do 10 members each time I got to that day. So then each month I'm cycling through praying for each of them by name. Okay? That is the second W. All right, now for the third W, you need to figure out what are you going to pray? Okay, so if you've identified these are the people I'm going to pray for, these are the days I'm going to pray for them, another thing to help make sure that you're being consistent in your prayer life and intentional, not an unorganized junk drawer, is figure out what am I going to pray for them when I pray for them, okay? So let me give you an example. For me, I started with a spiral bound notebook, and I put a Post-it on the first page, and I wrote down like the personal life, my own personal life. Then I flipped 20-something pages. Then I put another Post-it note, and then I put my family. I wanted to be praying for my family. Then I flipped another 20 pages. Then I put the young adult ministry, flipped another 20 pages, did the adult community group, flipped another 20 pages, and then I did the staff and the interns, okay? So that's how I organize it. Now, since then, I had a friend who got me an awesome gift. Let me show this to you. It's a journal, but what it is like it has these little rubber bands in it, and so you can put multiple journals in it. And so now I have my prayers organized this way. The first journal is my God and Me journal, so I want to start by confessing sin and praising God for things in my own life. Then I move to my immediate family, okay? Then I got a third journal in here for ministry, and I have that broken down between the different areas of ministry, and then finally miscellaneous things as well. But anyways, one of the things I did to make sure I applied this third W, is I would put on the back page the types of prayers I want to be praying. So let me just give you an example of what I mean by this. When it comes to my family, I have 4 daughters, and I want to be praying for them very intentionally. So every day I start with prayers for myself, then I move to my family, and I just pray for one immediate family member each day. Okay, so when it comes to my girls, I flip to the back page, and I had already thought through this for this season of life. This might change in the future, but for this season, I want to consistently be praying for my daughters for their purity, their words, their work ethic, their faith, their influences, their personalities, and their future spouse. Okay, so I have that written down, and so each day I get to it, and I'm like, okay, today I'm praying for this daughter, and I just go in order, right? Praying for this daughter. What did I pray for her last time? And I move on to the next thing. And then the next day I come and I say, okay, it's this daughter. What I pray for her last time? Now I'm moving to the next topic. And then I just will think through, okay, is there anything in their life that relates to that topic right now? And if so, then I pray for it. Or if not, I might think through some scripture that I want to pray over them for that topic. And now I have what I'm going to pray for them about, okay? Well, in the same way, you can take and literally do the same thing for your family. But when it comes to your ministry, like, what do you want to be praying for your people? Do you want to be praying for them to be growing in their faith? Do you want to be praying for them to grow in their community, for their spiritual disciplines, for different things going on in their life? One of the things you could do is I would have specific scriptures for the people I was praying for that I wanted to pray over them, just like literally do a Google search of all the prayers that the Apostle Paul prayed over the people he wrote letters to. Man, imitate those prayers. But in addition to that, I would also just text people, hey, I'm praying for you today. Is there anything specific I can pray for you about? And then I would lift up their prayer requests. I'd write their name down, and then I would pray over that for them. And by doing this, guys, when I did all 3 of these, when I figured out who I was going to pray for, when I figured out when I was going to pray for them, and when I figured out what I was going to pray for, guess what that did? It relieved all the stress, all the burden, all the insecurities about my prayer life. My prayer life went from an unorganized junk kitchen drawer to something that was organized. It was systematized. And I had confidence to say, like, I am praying for people. And guess what? The people who were getting texts, and here's a bonus tip, by the way. Here's another thing. When you pray for people, send them a text. Okay, I'm not saying you have to do this every time, but I think why not? Right? I do it often. When I'm praying for people, I'll send them a text, hey, praying for you today. Right? And some people, guess what? They're going to here's another pro tip, they're probably going to say something like, what? Is everything okay? And you could just respond with, yeah, you're just a member of our ministry. I care about you, and I want to be praying for you consistently. By the way, if there's ever anything that you want me to pray for you about, make sure you send it my way, and when I get to your name, I'm going to be praying over that for you. Or if it's something urgent, like I'm going to pray that day for you, okay? Right? Do that, and it's going to be so relieving. Your prayer life goes from the unorganized junk drawer in your kitchen to something that's organized, something that you're proud of, and you're doing the work of the ministry like you should. You're devoting yourself to prayer, but in an organized way.